Number 10. Billboard Music Awards. At the Billboard Music Awards in May, Cara Delevingne stole the show and captured everyone's attention with her erratic behavior and apparent obsession with Megan Thee Stallion. Several of the model's antics ended up going viral following the show, including her peering around a corner and licking her lips while staring at Megan as she posed for the photographers, which I guess was Cara's idea of a joke. Cara could be seen repeatedly lurking around the rapper, ducking in and out of the shot while sticking her tongue out and shouting. The photos took Twitter by storm, with one user writing, "Your chances of being watched by Cara Delevingne are slim but never zero." Eventually, she ran onto the red carpet and grabbed the train of Megan's dress to give the photos some added movement. Some people believe that Megan looked irritated by it all. Not only that, but video footage from a party resurfaced online which showed Cara attempting to kiss Megan while they were on the dance floor, and Megan literally had to grab her shoulders and hold her back. If you're loving this video so far, please hit that like button, it would really help us out. Number 9. Licking Azalea Banks. Not too long ago, a video went viral of the model attempting to lick the rapper Azalea Banks while she was performing her hit track 212 at Leah McSweeney's Halloween party last year. The video was pretty telling because you could see that Azalea got to the end of her song, and Cara was literally on her knees in front of her with her tongue out, working her way up the rapper's legs until she was standing alongside the musician. Yes, she seemed like she was licking the entire length of her body, but it's only weird if Azalea says so, and the rapper apparently didn't seem to mind, and responded to the video on Twitter, saying that Cara is her girl through and through. Quote, "There were plenty of times I would just hide Cara in my apartment for days at a time to make sure she got some deep sleep and some actual food and wasn't just thrown out amongst the wolves like that." Well, it seems like the nature of their relationship is super ambiguous, but obviously there's a lot of love there. Number 8. Peg the patriarchy. In 2021, Cara attended the Met Gala wearing a white bulletproof vest with the words "Peg the patriarchy" on it. The look drew a lot of attention and praise, but only at first. Eventually, the vest drummed up a lot of controversy as Cara was accused of stealing the message from Luna Matata, a queer woman of color who trademarked the phrase in 2015. In an Instagram post, Luna wrote, "While I'm giddy that Peg the patriarchy made it to the Met Gala, Cara Delevingne tried to pull it off as their own. No credit to me, the creator and the owner of the trademark." Ironically, Luna said that she trademarked the phrase because she was concerned that people like Cara would co-opt her movement, and that the supermodel would grossly misrepresent everything that the original term would stand for. According to Luna, the movement is about subversion. It's not sexual and it's not about men, which is exactly how Cara described it to Kiki Palmer when she was being interviewed. So when she posted the outfit on Instagram, her comment section filled up with people demanding that she credit the original designer, which she never ended up doing. Number 7. The Doja Cat photo. At the Billboard Music Awards, Cara Delevingne and Megan Thee Stallion were seated next to each other, and Doja Cat was seated in the front row in front of them. Several clips of the moment went viral on Twitter as fans pointed out that it looked like Megan and Doja were trying to have a conversation with one another, but Cara was constantly interrupting. The whole night was crazy. Whether she was literally on the floor trying to take photos of Doja or sticking her tongue out at Megan, her inappropriate antics eventually led people to accuse the model of fetishizing black women. You might think that's a bit of a reach, but Megan definitely seemed uncomfortable with that kind of attention on her, and even posted a photo to Instagram of her and Doja next to each other with Cara photoshopped out of the picture. It wasn't exactly subtle because everyone saw the original version of the photo, which shows that Cara was actually sitting between them at the time. Number 6. Amber Heard affair. The 2022 defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard was really quite explosive, and it exposed a number of shocking revelations about both parties. But something that really caught everyone's attention was a leaked deposition that went viral online during the trial, which suggested that Cara was involved in a three-way affair between Amber and her billionaire ex-boyfriend Elon Musk. The video featured a key witness in Josh Drew, who was married to one of Amber's friends at the time, who said that to his knowledge, Amber Heard, Elon Musk, and Cara Delevingne spent the night together. The three of them reportedly hooked up at Johnny's downtown LA penthouse in late 2016 after somewhere around the time that he and Amber split up. But there was speculation, just like with James Franco, that Amber was seeing Cara and Elon while she was still with Johnny. In the end, the supermodel did not have to testify in the trial, but for a period of time it certainly seemed like she was going to get pulled into the legal battle. Number 5. Coachella. Beyonce's culture-shaking performance at the 2018 Coachella Music Festival became so iconic that it was literally called Baychella. Like everyone else, Cara was a huge fan of the show and had nothing but good things to say. She wrote on Instagram, "I am speechless. That performance made me burst into tears and sent shivers down my spine." But her followers were not too happy with that and accused her of hypocrisy, because before the event, Cara was one of the loudest voices supporting the No-Chella movement, which was a boycott of the festival after the owner was caught making donations to anti anti-LGBTQ+ causes. As the backlash against her started escalating, she hit back at critics on Instagram saying, "I am allowed to shame that man and show my appreciation of an artist at the same time. I still refuse to go to a festival that is owned by someone who is anti-LGBTQ+ and pro-ban." But her followers certainly didn't see it that way, and a messy debate took place in her comment section. Number 4. The Jimmy Choo ad. In 2017, the Me Too movement was gaining some real momentum, largely due to Harvey Weinstein being exposed as a serial predator. Cara Delevingne was one of the women who came forward with her own disturbing allegations about him that same year, and revealed on Instagram that Harvey had convinced her to follow him to his hotel room and tried to kiss her before she managed to escape. But even though Cara was brave enough to speak up against sexual harassment, it somehow backfired on her when she decided to star in an ad for Jimmy Choo called Shimmer in the Dark. The short film shows her walking around New York City at night, drawing attention from several men on the street, who then start catcalling her and complimenting her. But the attention that she gets is framed as a good thing, and that's what really seemed to anger people, as they pointed to the hypocrisy of it all. Even though most of the backlash was directed at Cara, Jimmy Choo eventually decided to pull the ad as it was deemed too controversial. Number 3. Stealing shirt designs. In 2015, the owner of Other Wild design studio, Rachel Burks, started selling feminist t-shirts with the slogan that was created in the 70s. She was doing it ethically and as a collaboration with the original designer. The t-shirts said, "The future is female," and they were an instant hit. But when Cara got her hands on them and posted the shirts on Instagram, they really blew up because of her huge following. The British model saw a pretty good business opportunity and announced that she was going to be making and selling her own version of the shirt and giving some of the proceeds to charity. But fans were quick to point out that she hadn't designed the shirt, and therefore it wasn't right to just sell it without crediting the original makers. And once Other Wild design studio caught on, they accused Cara of stealing the idea from a small business. They argued about who had the right to print the slogan, but because Cara was on the receiving end of most of the backlash, she eventually caved and agreed to link the company's website in her posts about the t-shirt. Number 2. Julia Fox comments. During an episode of their Forbidden Fruits podcast last year, Julia Fox and her co-host Nikki Takesh recounted a bizarre story of Cara being inappropriate towards Azalea Banks. The story goes that the two of them were at a party where the rapper was performing, and when they noticed something weird, Nikki said, "We looked to the side of the stage and we see this person trying to keep pushing past security, and we realized it was Cara Delevingne." Julia then said that they realized very quickly that Cara was wasted, and that after several attempts, she finally made her way up on stage while Azalea was performing and even stole the mic from her. Julia said that Cara's behavior was thirsty, and she could tell by Azalea's face that she was over it and just wanted to have her moment. It was a funny story that lines up very well with the video of Cara trying to lick Azalea's leg on stage, but it's probably just the way they partied together, considering that the two of them are close friends. And coming in at number 1, the awkward interview. In the middle of a promotional tour for her film Paper Towns, Cara appeared on Good Day Sacramento, and it was a complete disaster from start to finish. First of all, the anchors called her Carla instead of Cara, then they asked her whether or not she had read the book on which the film is based, and why she didn't seem more excited to be on the show despite making millions from the movie. In all fairness, Cara really didn't seem too enthusiastic when it came to promoting the film, and she eventually refused to respond to their questions. She really wasn't giving them anything to work with at all, except for quite a bad attitude. But it didn't really help that one of the anchors straight up told her, "We'll let you take a little nap and maybe get a Red Bull," essentially kicking her off the program. Although there is still a debate to this day about what made the interview so uncomfortable to watch, it is certainly one for the books. Coming in at number 10 today, we have the mattress photo controversy. So Gucci is currently receiving backlash on social media from social media users for an ad campaign that was posted on December 19th starring Harry Styles. Since last week, the brand has continued to post photos of Styles on Instagram while they were promoting Gucci's Ha 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 campaign. In the ads, Harry could be seen posing with what appears to be a smaller sized mattress as he is dressed in a teddy bear graphic tee and trousers. While the campaign was first introduced back in November, Gucci is now facing criticism for the set props. With the props being a children's mattress, many people have been addressing their concerns, with one person saying, "Why is a toddler bed in this? Why the teddy bear t-shirt? What is the angle aside from Strange Things?" And a lot of people have been pointing out that the similarities that Gucci's campaign had are pretty similar to Balenciaga's campaign. That was embroiled just weeks before online after the campaign involved children holding French labeled teddy bears wearing some
adult gear. With Balenciaga and Gucci being owned by the same company, the controversy wasn't really a shock to many. However, now it just proves that something concerning is going on with parent company Kering, as they keep bringing children into their campaigns under concerning circumstances. Though Gucci hasn't really spoken out about the ads yet, the campaign came to light under the director of Alessandro Michele, who since left the company after becoming the creative director back in 2015. Coming at number 9, the Vogue cover. So back in November 2020, Harry Styles would make history as he became the first non-female to have a solo cover in Vogue magazine in the 128 years it's been in print. For his cover shoot, Harry would end up being photographed by Tyler Mitchell. In the photos taken, it could be seen that Harry was wearing a variety of different dresses and brightly colored blouses. While many people praised Harry for breaking down gender norms, there was also a lot of people who criticized him for wearing such feminine pieces, including many conservatives like Candace Owens, who called his Vogue cover an outright attack on the manly men. While his fans and other celebrities came to his defense, like Jamila Jamil, she would even come out in a tweet to say Harry Styles is plenty manly because manly is whatever you want it to be, not what some insecure toxic woman hating D-heads decided it was 100 years ago. He's 104% perfect. Harry also spoke out about the backlash, telling Variety to not wear something because it's feminine clothing. You should shut out a whole world of great clothes, and I think what's exciting about right now is I can wear whatever I want to. It doesn't have to be X or Y. Those lines are becoming more blurred. However, even actor Billy Porter would criticize the cover by saying he felt disconnected from the opportunities for being a gay black man. Coming at number 8 today, we have the Harry House merchandise symbol. Since the release of his third studio album, Harry House, in May of 2022, fans have been eagerly waiting for Harry Styles to drop new merchandise. In August, when the new merchandise was finally announced, it would come with some serious backlash as fans would claim the two capital H's had some anti-Semitic roots, and the signs have been banned in various European countries. With Harry's symbol referencing a certain German symbol, as he would have his logos printed on hats, and he was selling them on tour. When Harry launched his second leg of his Love on tour, he would also release an array of new Harry House merch. And it was so popular, fans were even encouraged to visit the tour venues early to get their hands on it. However, when fans started to point out the Semitic symbol, Harry's team appeared to have responded to the backlash by replacing the hat with an amended version of it, with one fan tweeting, "I get it's supposed to stand for Harry House, but if I see someone walking around with HH on them, I'm gonna assume that it's not Harry Styles fans. I'm gonna assume that the HH means the same thing as 88. And another person even added, "Please take it out of the merch line because it's very triggering and hurtful, not towards Germans, but also especially towards Jewish people." Along with the hats, Harry also had a logo printed on his shirt and hoodies that were uploaded to his website, where you could purchase them before his team decided to change the logo. And number 7, song plagiarism accusations. Throughout the history of music, from time to time, thousands of cases of plagiarism allegations have been reported. With new controversies arising around copyrights in different parts of the world, I don't think any of us were really shocked when fans in Argentina started targeting Harry Styles for plagiarizing his new single, As It Was. When the British artist shared on his social media a small preview of the song for a few seconds on December 13th, detailing the song that will be available on April 1st, instantly, Twitter started to claim that the preview of the song was identical to a song by an Argentina group, Miranda, called El Profe. A few hours later, the Latin American band would become a huge trend on Twitter, and when more tweets started to appear, they seemed to demand justice for the alleged creator for stealing a project from another music group. With his debut album, he also has been accused of using an identical guitar riff as the 1968 Beatles song Blackbird. While Harry tends to stay away from the attention, we definitely won't see him speak on this matter anytime soon unless it magically becomes a topic that truly matters to the star. Coming in number 6 today, we have ignored BLM sign. So back in 2017, after the release of his first solo album, Harry would embark on tour and he would start playing at a number of different shows. While he was acknowledging the LGBTQ flags and spoke out in support of women, fans would become slightly outraged when he chose to ignore the Black Lives Matter flags in the crowd. In a blog post written by Infinity, writer Victoria Monar would question why Styles had chosen to remain silent when when it came to the Black Lives Matter issue and why he still hasn't used his massive platform to raise awareness for the issue. During a concert in London, audience members had been given signs that read Black Lives Matter, and one fan even ended up throwing their sign on the stage. Although Harry didn't pick up the sign or look at it, chose to completely ignore the flags and the signs, and he even proceeded to step on them on the stage. During an interview with New York Times, Style had even been asked if any outside chaos had influenced his solo album, referring to the issues of the Brexit, Black Lives Matter, and the American election at the time. Style would then go on to say, with a really vague answer, Sign of the Times had been looking at several different things. When he was asked what those kind of things were, he then told the interviewer everything you were talking about. At number 5, we have the Roy Moore joke. While guest hosting on the Late Late Show for James Corden back in 2017, Styles made a joke that didn't really go down quite as well with his fans that he thought it would, according to the Daily Mail. During his open monologue, Harry would even decide to make a joke about the Republican Senate Roy Moore, who had just lost to a Democrat, Doug Jones, in Alabama, which is typically a state that tends to be a red state. Harry would then go on to say, if you're anything like me, the only thing that you and your friends are talking about at the moment is the Alabama state race. Many of you would think that I'm unfamiliar with Roy Moore for being a Brit. That is not true. I am very familiar with Roy Moore. I've had to throw him out of a dozen of my concerts. While the audience did have a good laugh at the joke, many fans on Twitter didn't share the same thought, with one user saying, "You think because he's Harry Styles he gets a pass, well sis he doesn't. You can keep screaming at the wall, but the rest of us will hold him accountable." Now, Harry has never issued an apology or acknowledging the joke after he received backlash for it, and you probably won't, especially since the controversy surrounding Roy Moore surrounds children. Coming at number 4 today, we have culture appropriation. Back when Harry was still in One Direction, he decided it would be a good idea to post a black and white photo of himself wearing a Native American headdress. With the photo receiving immediate backlash, a One Direction Twitter fan page called He's Problematic would be the first to comment on the photos after Harry uploaded them. The page would then say, Harry appropriated the Native American culture by posing in a native headdress and putting up a picture of himself in it on social media. People called him out for culture appropriation, but again, he never apologized for it. Now, it wasn't the first time that Harry has made some headlines about culture appropriation, as the page also called him out on retweeting pictures of himself in a digitalized blackface with other edits that mocked Black culture. And just like the issue with the headdress, he never issued an apology, even though people called him out for it. I think it would be a great time to note that culture appropriation is not nice regardless of the context or intent. So before you get braids or wear a headdress, maybe think about why these things are so sacred and why they hurt certain cultures, and admire them from afar and just leave it at that. After Harry's photos received a horrendous amount of backlash, he would take photos down and would proceed to stay quiet on the issue, as he has never issued an apology for his actions. And number 3, the Super Bowl announcement. So in 2020, Harry would announce that he would be performing at the Super Bowl event in Florida. According to the Metro, the announcement was immediately met with backlash. While many of Harry's fans urged the singer to pull out of the performance due to the NFL's racist past, especially with how they treated some former players, he ultimately decided to go ahead and perform at the NFL Pepsi Super Bowl party. With both the NFL and Pepsi being known for being racist, Harry's decision to perform at the event contradicts his claims to support Black Lives Matter, with his black fans requesting him to back out of the trend by creating a hashtag #HarryBackOut on Twitter. They would find themselves being ignored on social media, with the hashtag trending on social media. Many of Harry's fans would urge Harry to cancel his performance. While many people understood it might be hard for him not to perform due to his contractual agreement, they would encourage Harry to donate any money he made at the event to a Black Lives Matter organization, with one fan writing, "POC, fans have the right to feel valued and respected. And if they aren't, I understand that Harry can't back out. I understand that Harry can't back out because of a contract, but he can speak up more and he can donate to BLM or other causes." And while his fans made some amazing suggestions, Harry did not donate the money that he made at the event to any cause. Coming at number 2 today, we have Olivia Wilde. With 2022 being a big year for Harry Styles as he's been touring, the singer also got his break in acting as he had the chance to star in Don't Worry Darling and My Policeman. With both films releasing soon, none of us really know what to expect from the star, which makes the anticipation really high for these films. During an interview with Rolling Stone, Harry would extensively discuss his relationship with Olivia Wilde, which began after they met on the set of Don't Worry Darling. While Harry's fans tend to be really supportive of his new relationships, his relationship with Olivia is one his fans just can't get over as they keep urging the star to leave her. With Olivia cheating on Jason Sudeikis to get with Harry Styles, there would soon be a lot of toxic negativity that started to surround Harry's relationship with Olivia. With having a 10-year age gap, fans would even start to make jokes and troll Olivia. Although she was a good sport when it came to the criticism, we all kept saying that there was something really off about her nice and friendly nature, and then the cast members of Don't Worry Darling started to speak up about how horrible she was to them on the set. And anyone who dates someone that horrible is known to be just as bad. And coming in at number 1 today, we have My Policeman. Harry Styles has been slammed by fans after making a comment that the film's deception of gay intimate scenes are usually two guys going at it. When the singer spoke to Rolling Stone about his new film, My Policeman, in which he plays a homosexual police officer hiding his sexuality in the 1950s, he would ignite some serious backlash when he spoke of his desire to express tenderness in the film's love scenes. Harry, who also detailed his refusal to confirm to a sexuality label to discuss his journey to figuring out his sexuality, said that the intimate scenes between the two men in the films is just them going at it, and it removes all the tenderness of love from it. Harry would then go on to know, I would imagine that some people who watch it, who are very much alive during the time when it was illegal to be gay, and wanted to show that it is tender, loving, and sensitive. With one fan coming out to say, if he doesn't want to label himself, I don't care, but he shouldn't be giving his opinion about a community that he doesn't even want to claim.
Number 10. Cheating on his wife. Adam Levine has been married to his Victoria's Secret model wife Beata Prinsloo for almost a decade, and the couple have 2 children together, with another one on the way, which actually was like just announced too. Outwardly, they really seem to have an idyllic life and make for the perfect celebrity couple, but that all came crashing down on Monday when an Instagram model named Sumner Stroh went on TikTok and posted a video called Having an Affair with a Man Who's Married to a Victoria's Secret Model, which was basically a whole video confessing that they had been in a relationship with the lead singer of Maroon 5 for a whole year. But to make matters worse, the shocking news comes just 1 week after his wife announced she is expecting their 3rd child, which is when Adam DM'd his former mistress asking if she would be okay with him and his wife naming their new baby after her. Sumner actually posted the full message, which read, "Okay, serious question, I'm having another baby, and if it's a boy, I really want to name it Sumner. You okay with that? Dead serious." Sumner said that by this point they hadn't been talking for several months, so she was extra surprised when she heard from him again. If you feel like this story is wild, let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. I personally think the whole naming your baby after your former mistress is pretty out there. Number 9. Strange comments. If you're wondering where Adam got the audacity to cheat on his wife, it was really no surprise when you look at his tone-deaf comments about infidelity in 2009, when he said, "I have cheated, and you know what? There is nothing worse than the feeling of doing it." So apparently, Adam might think the hardest part of the cheating is actually the act of doing it for the cheater. What about the people who are being cheated on though? Did he ever think that it might be indescribably painful for them? He also said that his best feature was that he was able to detach himself. Quote, "It's also my worst feature. I let myself off the hook to the point where it's a bad thing. People are hard on themselves, I'm not." Not only that, but Adam also caught quite a bit of backlash for his comments in a 2014 interview with GQ magazine. The singer addresses his reputation as a bit of an egomaniac. He said, "I'm not arrogant, I'm cocky. It's different. Cocky is playful. Others certainly would beg to differ though." So the whole thing just made him come off as really obnoxious, and most people would see that interview as a major red flag when it comes to his personality. Number 8. I hate this country. In 2013, Adam Levine ended up entangled in controversy after he said while live on air on The voice, "I hate this country." The next day, all of social media across the US was seemingly up in arms, which he was surprised about. In all fairness, his words were kind of twisted by being taken out of context here. He made the remark as a jest in response to contestants being eliminated from the show, which he was obviously sad about. He didn't want to see them go, and so playing up the drama of the moment, he made the remark, but as a joke, not seriously. However, when people decided to attack him from all sides about his statement, his response was pretty snide, I gotta say. He responded to the backlash by consulting the dictionary, explaining that it had only been a joke, and then going on to explain what a joke meant by providing the definitions from the dictionary for the words joke, humorless, lighthearted, and misunderstand. Yeesh. Wow. Could have just been like, it's a joke. You don't need to give everyone all the definitions to words. We know what words mean, Adam Levine, okay? Number 7, bad attitude. There is no denying Adam Levine's sex symbol status, but for that exact same reason, he has also been labeled a bit too cocky for his own good. A lot of people would say that he seems to have developed a pretty bad attitude when it comes to appreciating his fan base. In fact, just last year, a TikTok went viral of Adam going off on a fan for coming on stage. The incident happened during a Maroon 5 performance when he was belting out the band's 2004 hit Sunday Morning, and an overly eager fan suddenly rushed the stage and reached for him. The video shows that security quickly grabbed the woman and pulled her away from Adam, who was then seen cursing, shuddering, and shaking off the experience before getting back into the music. Many were offended by his visceral reaction, suggesting he should humble himself and remember that the band is only successful because of its fans. Which, I mean, fair enough. It's true, that's how it works. Number 6, yoga practice. When it comes to Adam Levine's reasoning behind getting in a good stretch, it is less to do with his love of the practice or the spiritual elements of yoga, and more to do with his love for the look of the people who take the classes with him. Back in 2002, when Adam Levine was interviewed by Details magazine about his connection to yoga, he responded by pointing to his pelvis and said, "You know what yoga is good for? I'll tell you what yoga is good for. Doing it." That's not a red flag. I don't know what is. That's pretty red flaggy to me. Number 5, hypocrite. One of the things you really need to watch out for when it comes to the internet is what you say, because your words could come back to haunt you years later if they fall into the hands of the right people, and the right people want to hold them up and be like, look at this person, they're awful. At the same time, I do think we should forgive people who feel genuine cringe and remorse for awful things that they wrote on the internet, you know, like more than a decade ago, because people can change. It's possible. I've seen it. In the case of Adam Levine, though, it didn't take too long for people to turn his words against him after he seemingly changed his mind when it came to his thoughts on celebrity fragrances. Almost overnight. Or well, not quite overnight, but like about a year or 2 years later, which is still a pretty short turnaround, I think. In 2011, Levine took to Twitter, disgusted by the idea of celebrity fragrances, and in 2012, he also shared his opinions on celebrity fragrances in an interview, which he saw as a massive money grab. Quote, "I absolutely loathe the idea of doing a celebrity fragrance simply as a moneymaker. Personal brand to make money? Vomit." In the fall of 2013, though, he seemingly changed his tune, putting out his own fragrance that came in a bottle resembling a microphone. I think that one just speaks for itself. Number 4, reasoning for not being a misogynist. Okay, but if I sleep with so many women, how can I be a misogynist? That seems to be the summary of Adam Levine's reasoning for not being a misogynist, which not very sound. Adam Levine admitted that he sees men as being either misogynistic pigs or men who just really love women. Now, how would he categorize himself? Why, of course, as a man who just really loves women. Going on to explain in an interview in 2012 that maybe the reason I was promiscuous and wanted to sleep with a lot of them is that I love them so much. I'm not sure if that's what's going on there, Adam, or if that's how that works really at all. Number 3, response to being called out for cheating. After Sumner Stroh came out and claimed that she had an affair with Adam Levine and that the two were dating for about a year, which she expressed regretting, explaining that in retrospect she felt exploited in regards to the whole thing, being more naive at the time of that affair, Adam responded to the allegations. His response was to kind of apologize, but mostly deny that it happened. He denied ever having an affair and reduced their exchange to flirtatious messages, which he said crossed a line. But basically, that was it in regards to any wrongdoing on his part. Quote, "I used poor judgment in speaking with anyone other than my wife in any kind of flirtatious manner. I did not have an affair. Nevertheless, I crossed the line during a regrettable period of my life." I mean, he sent that message about this baby, this newborn baby that's coming. That was only a little while ago, so what regrettable part of your life? All of it? I don't know. Number 2, we will get through it together. Other celebrities have critiqued another part of Adam Levine's response to the cheating scandal. Levine went on to say in his response to Sumner's claims, quote, "I have taken proactive steps to remedy this with my family. My wife and my family is all I care about in this world. To be this naive and stupid enough to risk the only thing that truly matters to me was the greatest mistake I could ever make. I will never make it again. I take full responsibility. We will get through it, and we will get through it together." American actress Chrishell Strauss seemingly wasn't buying the remorse and took issue with Levine's wording. Chrishell tweeted, "When apologizing for cheating publicly, I hate the 'we will get through it together' part from a man. Don't speak for her. You've done enough." Number 1, 2 more women enter the chat. Other than the claims made by Sumner Stroh, which are pretty bad, especially regarding Adam wanting to name his and Beattie's future child after her potentially, 2 other women have also come out of the woodwork, claiming they also got raunchy messages from Adam Levine as well. Sumner also posted a response TikTok to her first video, where she wanted to expand on why she shared details of her interactions with Levine in the first place and express her remorse about the whole thing, clarifying she does not think of herself as the victim and that to her it is Prinsloo and her children who are the victims of this scandal. She also shared that she really only got into the affair with Adam Levine because he manipulated her, with him claiming that his relationship with Prinsloo was over but that they were still presenting as a couple for publicity's sake. Marika, a comedian who has also come out to share her receipts, claims that she called out Adam Levine on being married and flirting with her during their time messaging, and he confirmed he was, but added, "It's a bit complicated." Is it? Is it a bit complicated, or are you married and you just want to send messages to other people? I don't know.
Number 10. How they met. In an interview with Harper's Bazaar UK in 2019, Sophie spoke about their meeting and she basically said they got set up. She explained that they had a lot of mutual friends and they had been trying to introduce them for quite some time. Apparently they were following each other on Instagram and he direct messaged her one fine day out of the blue. Soon after the meeting, he invited her to meet up with his tour that was passing through the UK. She said that the two of them had an instant connection, even though she hadn't expected to like him. She said he didn't bring security, he brought a friend, and they drank just as hard as the rest of us. I remember us two spending only a couple of minutes on the dance, and then we found a space in the far corner and we just talked. Sophie went on to say that they talked for hours and hours, but that she was never bored. She felt that the conversation wasn't contrived, it wasn't small talk. From her point of view, it was just easy. She said soon they were inseparable, and then she went on tour with him. So at that point it seemed like she had really fallen hard for this dude, and marriage came very quickly after that. Like very quickly, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Number 9. Age is but a number. Joe was 28 years old when he popped the question to his then 21-year-old girlfriend Sophie. A lot of people believe that age is just a number. Many didn't find this to be a big deal at first. An insider close to the couple revealed that they were madly in love, and while Sophie is a bit younger than he is, she grew up in a small English town, so it's not completely out of the ordinary for an age difference to be glossed over. Many fans also came to her defense, citing her mental maturity. While she may have been 21, she was forced to grow up very fast, and because of that, she was probably closer to like a 30-year-old mentally speaking. The red flag is that much like celebrities like Leonardo DiCaprio or Al Pacino, Joe tends to date people much younger than himself, like supermodel Gigi Hadid. His oldest girlfriend was Taylor Swift. She was a whole 4 months older than him. Wow, make way for grandma! Despite how uncomfortable many fans found the age gap to be, the couple did not care, and really, that's what matters. Number 8. Flirty McGurdy. When these two first got together, it was believed that Joe had all of the leverage. Why? Well, Sophie was into him for quite some time, but she was aware that at the time, Joe was not known for his commitment skills. When they first met, he was a player, and according to several women, he was seeing them simultaneously and without each other's knowledge. Joe's tone shifted though when he met Sophie. By December of 2016, he was becoming a one-woman kind of guy. According to Sophie, they were intoxicated with each other and they started dating exclusively. However, However, it appears that he was playing the field for so long that he's forgotten to turn off his game. Joe was still flirting with women at his shows, and while it may have been accidental, the fact that he's not aware of what he's doing was cause for concern. Not only has Joe flirted with other people in the past, but apparently his ex Sophie did as well, with one of Joe's close friends whose jaw literally dropped when he saw her in real life. Number 7. The private PDA? Despite crying out to the public to just leave them alone, Sophie and Joe were known for their aggressive PDA. Whether it's getting cozy at an awards show, or at a Kings of Leon's concert, or during a shopping trip. Page 6 reported that in May of 2017, the couple went into a dressing room together in a Soho boutique. According to the report, the couple entered the change room and a customer noticed both of them in bare feet below the door. Now, while it's super creepy that someone was just peeking under doors in Soho, it was clear that Sophie was trying on clothes for Joe in the privacy of their own little room. When they exited, they noticed the couple to be giggly and very touchy-feely. Now, while being close isn't a bad thing per se, these two have constantly asked the world to ignore them and stop focusing on their love lives. Well, hey man, then stop licking your wife in public. Number 6. In and out. Las Vegas weddings. Quick, easy, and everlasting. Joe and Sophie tied the knot in Las Vegas after publicly claiming several times that they were in no rush to get married. After telling the world they'd be taking time off for themselves following their engagement, it was not less than a month later that they tied the knot and attended the Billboard Music Awards right after getting their license, like on the exact same day. They went to a little wedding chapel in Las Vegas that's famous for its star weddings, like Britney Spears' marriage to her friend Jason Alexander for 2 days. Not to mention, the wedding featured some huge Vegas cliches. There was an Elvis impersonator literally officiating the thing. Many speculate that Joe was trying to prove something to his brothers by throwing the exact opposite of their weddings. Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra had an extravagant $1 million wedding spanning multiple days. The only people in attendance for Joe and Sophie were Joe's brothers, DJ Khaled and Diplo. They also didn't wear the traditional dress and suit, instead opting for slacks and jeans. To cap it all off, they used ring pops instead of real rings to seal the deal. Man, I feel like I'm describing a dream that I had. Number 5. Sophie was hesitant. Sophie Turner previously admitted to OK Australia in 2016 that she's never dated anyone who she didn't know before or who is in the industry. Her reasoning, well, in addition to being more focused on her career than her love life at the time, she claimed that their lifestyles were a contributing factor. Joe and Sophie had different ideas of what was fun. She went on to say how on-set romances are amazing, but they tend to be very temporary when it comes to their time together, so that was a big fear for her. The logistics seemed to be her main concern as well. If she was filming in Australia and he was on tour in the States, how would that work? They'd never see each other. After getting together officially with Joe, Sophie did admit that she felt like she was in a fishbowl. Frustratingly for her, the smallest thing would be made into headline news. If she stubbed her toe on the sidewalk, it was in the front page. Her frustrations are legitimate, but why maintain this charade for so long if you're uncomfortable from the start? Number 4. Short and sweet. Before being engaged, the couple only dated for a very short time. Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner were first linked after attending a Halloween party together in 2016. The singer showed up dressed as a Dalmatian, while his love interest sported some pink sequins bunny ears, according to People magazine. Less than a week later, they were spotted looking very comfortable at the pre-MTV European Music Awards event in the Netherlands, where Kings of Leon's performed. Less than a year after getting together, Sophie was spotted with a ring on her finger, and the engagement was confirmed. Many people get engaged early in their relationship, but as you've seen through this video, this was a case of rushing into things a little too quickly considering some of the other entries on this list. Number 3. She's messing with a gold digger. According to an inside source close to the couple, Joe was beyond excited when he started dating Sophie, and it sounds like it's because of her money. According to the source, one of the main reasons that Joe is so smitten with his ex-man wife is because she is able to provide for herself and for him. Apparently, Sophie does not let Joe pay for most things, something the musician is not used to. When speaking about his wife in interviews, Joe kinda just backed up the whole gold digger theory, as the first and foremost thing that he mentions is how much he loves her independence. He literally said, "She buys me stuff all the time. I love it." While many praised Sophie for her efforts, many people started pointing out the red flag and expressing their discomfort knowing that Joe Jonas doesn't pay the bill when he's out with his lady. Maybe that's why they're getting divorced. Maybe she kept the tabs and the bill finally came due. Number 2. Different love languages. According to Sophie herself, she learned that a majority of what she knows knows about physical intimacy was from her time on the HBO series Game of Thrones. I'm not sure why this needs to be said, but I'm gonna say it. Don't treat Game of Thrones as something to learn from. Dragons aren't real. They're not real, Nate. Thanks to the show, it may have skewered her view on what proper intimacy looks like. Meanwhile, Joe just seems to love chit-chatting about his private parts. Seriously, like every chance this guy gets, it's genitalia. He boasted to Vulture in December of 2013 about removing his purity ring, which himself and his brothers Kevin and Nick rocked during their Disney days. In October of 2016, he then talked about the size of his little dinghy compared to that of his brothers, which is just too much information. Very uncomfortable. He goes on to recount the time that he lost his V card and about becoming a little bit too excited while filming music videos with Ashley Graham and Charlotte McKinney. Sophie has expressed her disappointment in this lack of restraint and has begged him to quit numerous times, but he persists and now they're divorced. And at number 1, Joe took off his wedding ring first. In the weeks leading up to this divorce announcement, Joe was photographed without his wedding ring quite a few times. One of those moments was as far back as August 11th, when he was picking up an iced coffee in New York City. But since then, he's made a point of wearing it again, even as the couple have officially filed for divorce. On Monday, Joe posted a black and white photo on Instagram that showed him looking at the camera and holding a cup with his wedding band prominently on full display. Then, just this morning, he posted a statement to Instagram claiming that it was from the two of them. It said, "After 4 wonderful years of marriage, we have mutually decided to amicably end our marriage. There are many speculative narratives as to why, but truly this is a united decision and we sincerely hope that everyone can respect our wishes for privacy for us and our children." This is quite a shock considering that the news only broke a few days ago. Sources spoke to TMZ and said that Joe had his people contact at least 2 divorce lawyers in LA, and the couple has had serious problems in their relationship for at least 6 months.
Number 10, the open relationship. After reports swirled that Brad Pitt was dating German model Nicole Putarowski, who looks a little bit like a younger version of Angelina, the world was set into a tailspin. But fans were a little bit confused when they found out that the model was already married to a much older man named Roland Mary, a German restaurateur who's 41 years her senior. Not only that, but Pitt allegedly met her through her husband. A source told the Daily Mail that Brad had been coming to Roland's restaurant for years, and he was then introduced to his wife Nicole, and she passed him her number. The two of them were eventually spotted in the south of France at Chateau Miraval, the estate he shared with Angelina. To make matters worse, the trip allegedly occurred near what would have been his and Jolie's wedding anniversary. But however scandalous the relationship was, it was always a little ambiguous as to whether there was any cheating involved, especially considering that Nicole is quite philosophical about the whole open marriage deal, and her husband seemed alright with the arrangement. So was the whole thing a little bit strange? Yes, but not necessarily wrong. Number 9, the foundation scandal. After Hurricane Katrina, Brad Pitt's Make It Right Foundation built 109 eye-catching and affordable homes in New Orleans for a community where people were displaced by the damage since 2005. But according to Pop Science, the vast majority of the homes are riddled with construction-related problems that have led to mold, termites, rotting wood, flooding, and although some of the structures are not yet a decade old, out of all the homes built, only 6 reportedly remain in reasonably good shape to this day. Most either have had partial repairs or have been completely renovated because of structural problems, with at least 6 houses totally boarded up and abandoned. As a result, in 2018, Brad and his foundation were hit with a class action lawsuit alleging that the homes they built were structurally unsound, with faulty foundations, electrical issues, and some with incorrectly installed gas meters, putting their homes at risk of gas leaks and explosions. The actor took credit for launching Make It Right in 2007, serving as its public face for years, but when his lawyers argued that he could not be sued over the developmental failings, a judge ruled that the movie star would remain a defendant because of his role as the organization's founder and chief fundraiser. Number 8, dissing Jennifer Aniston. Jen told Vanity Fair in 2005 that while she doubted her ex-husband was deliberately malicious, she explained that when it comes to Brad, there's a sensitivity chip that's missing. That might just be true when you look at his Parade magazine interview in 2011. The actor gave a rather unflattering description of his life and marriage with Jen. Brad felt that he wasn't living an interesting interesting life, and in the 5 years that he was with the Friends star, he was trying to pretend the marriage was something it wasn't. Quote, I started getting sick of myself sitting on the couch holding a joint hiding out. It started feeling pathetic. It became very clear to me that I was intent on trying to find a movie about an interesting life, but I wasn't living an interesting life myself. I think that my marriage had something to do with it. To make matters worse, when asked about life with Angelina in comparison, he admitted that he was finally a satisfied man. After receiving backlash for the interview that was basically insinuating that Jen was boring, Brad had to do some major damage control and went on to clarify his comments. Quote, it grieves me that this was interpreted this way. The point I was trying to make is not that Jen was dull, but that I was becoming dull to myself and that I am responsible for. So at least he was able to clear that up because it probably hurt Jen quite a lot. Number 7, the judge issue. Like many celebrity couples, Pitt and Jolie opted to hire their own judge to increase their privacy in the divorce proceedings. But that became yet another point of contention for the former couple when Angelina fought for their judge to be disqualified from the case. She scored a major victory point in the divorce when the California Appeals Court agreed with her that Judge John W. Alderkirk didn't sufficiently disclose prior business relationships with Brad's attorneys and considered that a conflict of interest. Angelina was actually able to prove that the private judge that Brad had advocated for failed to disclose the cases that revealed a close relationship between the judge and her ex-husband's legal team. On their part, they were quick to deny any impropriety and pointed out that Judge Alderkirk actually officiated the couple's wedding, but the District Court of Appeal felt that it was an ethical breach and doubted the judge's ability to be impartial. So it was a bit of a shady move on the part of Brad's lawyers, but it might have just been all for nothing, as in 2020, Brad was granted joint custody of his children with a tentative ruling, much to Angelina's frustration. Number 6, avoiding child support. In August of 2018, Angelina accused Brad of not paying any meaningful child support for their 6 children after the divorce. The actor countered that he had actually loaned her $8 million to buy a home, plus $1.3 million for bills. Angelina's attorneys slammed Brad in a statement to Us Weekly, citing the incident of September 2016 as the reason that Angelina and the children needed to move from the family home. Her rep further insinuated that he was charging her interest on a payment plan and that she will of course honor that loan. Quote, a loan is not, however, child support, and to represent it as such is misleading and inaccurate. The rep added that Angelina was requesting that Brad pay 50% of the kids' expenses because she has had to shoulder the majority of those without his contribution for the past 2 years. Quote, child support is not optional in California. Typically, a father of means would pay these expenses voluntarily without the need for a request or a court order. The former couple's constant back and forth fighting over finances still hasn't ended. In fact, Brad is reportedly suing his ex-wife for allegedly secretly selling their $116 million winery without his knowledge. Number 5, whitewashing. We certainly can't talk about red flags without bringing up the controversy surrounding Bullet Train. Brad has recently come under fire for allegedly whitewashing Japanese culture in his new blockbuster movie, which is an accusation that has his fans divided. The action-packed movie takes place in Japan on a high-speed train heading from Tokyo to Kyoto, which sounds great except for the fact that the majority of the cast involved are from Western countries and are not ethnically Japanese, leading many to accuse the filmmakers of insensitive casting choices. As Brad is the film's main lead, a lot of the criticism naturally falls on his shoulders, not to mention the fact that his character was originally written as Japanese in the source material. Not only are the majority of the film's main cast white, but the passengers of the bullet train are largely white as well, while the few background actors that do appear to be Japanese have no prominence in the story or speaking lines. The movie is based on a novel by the same name, written by author Katara Izaka, who has stood by the casting choices, but people are still upset regardless, because similar instances of whitewashing have occurred in recent movies, like Doctor Strange or Ghost in the Shell, so audiences are becoming increasingly frustrated with miscasting. Number 4, the lighting lawsuit. Odile Soudan was once considered a friend of Brad and Angelina before they ran into some major issues. In fact, the famous French designer ended up suing the couple in 2017 over massive unpaid bills for the lighting in their Chateau Miraval home. Soudan claimed that the former couple simply stopped paying for her work that she did on 4 buildings of their 40-room mansion in France. While she did not have a written contract with the former couple per se, she claims that Brad gave her the green light to do whatever she wanted to make their home beautiful. Sudon took him at his word and racked up a $29 million bill in the process. She hired architects, designers, lighting and acoustic specialists, and even went to an optical engineer to calculate the angle of the sun's rays on the chateau. But she soon noticed that the former couple stopped paying for her project after her billings reached around $6 million. Before the lawyers got involved, Brad emailed her insisting that he was a fan of her work and that she should not legally attack them because they could figure it out amongst themselves. But it was no use, as in 2017 they were ordered to pay her roughly $674,000, including extra for damaging her reputation. Number 4. Dating Juliet Lewis. When they met on the set of Too Young to Die, Brad Pitt and Juliet Lewis were infatuated with each other and went on to date for 3 years. The film was quite a big break for both actors, who were still climbing the Hollywood ladder at the time, but it was clearly a great romance, as years later Brad would go on to label the relationship as one of the greatest. So why was it a red flag? Well, he was 27 at the time and she was only 17. But it was the 90s, right? Well, no, actually, it was always a little bit creepy, considering the fact that Juliet was still in high school at the time. When speaking about the whirlwind romance, she told Daily Mail in 2010, quote, "I was a teenager at the time. It was a lifetime away. I was in my high school years and it was a wonderful, loving relationship with a fun, smart guy. Then it was over and he went on to become incredibly famous." The duo certainly seemed in love, as they were constantly hitting up red carpet events together, like the premiere for Thelma and Louise or The Last of the Mohicans. But the relationship was still a questionable one and falls into a morally grey area because of Juliet's age at the time. Number 2. Working with Weinstein. In a recent interview, Angelina Jolie opened up to The Guardian about her experience with the disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein, speaking about his unwanted advances. Quote, "It was something I had to escape. I stayed away and warned people about him. I was asked to do The Aviator, but I said no because he was involved. I never associated or worked with him again. It was hard for me when Brad did." She went on to admit that it was very difficult for her when Brad continued to work with him, despite the fact that he tried to take advantage of her when she was 21. The couple fought over Brad's decision to take on Inglourious Basterds in 2009, which was distributed and co-financed by the Weinstein Company, and again in 2012 when he approached Weinstein to produce his film Killing Them Softly. Angelina makes it clear that Brad was well aware of what happened to her and went against her wishes anyway, which caused a great deal of pain. The actor made headlines for an interview with CNN, condemning Weinstein, and spoke about a time that he confronted him for preying on his then girlfriend Gwyneth Paltrow. So it's safe to assume he always knew about the Hollywood predator and was still happy to keep working with him. Number 1. Accusations of domestic violence. Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's separation has been anything but a smooth process since it began, back in 2016. Their divorce seems to become messy and messier as years go by, especially after a disturbing allegation by Angelina last year, who filed court documents against her ex-husband that claimed that she was a victim of domestic violence. In fact, the court documents state that the actress and her children are willing to offer proof and authority in support of these allegations. She also agreed to provide testimony, along with the testimony of minor children. So where did this serious accusation come from? Well, in 2016, news broke that an altercation on a flight from Nice, France to Los Angeles had ultimately sparked the reason for the couple's divorce, as Brad was drinking heavily on the flight and allegedly physically hurt their oldest son, Mattress. He was subsequently investigated by the Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services and cleared. Brad reportedly told the FBI that he had shouted at his son, but insisted that he did not attempt to physically harm him, his wife, or any of their other children. The actor has since also admitted that he was facing difficulties with alcohol at the time and attended Alcoholics Anonymous following the divorce. So it's possible that the incident was just a family argument that happened to escalate. Number 10. The CinemaCon incident. As Olivia was presenting at CinemaCon and promoting her new movie Don't Worry Darling, a woman from the audience approached her while she was still on stage and handed her a yellow envelope, which read "personal and confidential." The whole thing was caught on camera, and as the actress opened the envelope, she found out it was custody papers from her former partner Jason Sudeikis. After a brief moment of shock, she decided to continue on with her presentation, but later decided to accuse her ex of maliciously planning the incident. She told Variety, "In any other workplace, it would be seen as an attack. I hated that this nastiness distracted from the work of so many different people, and that the studio that I was up there representing, and to try and sabotage that was really vicious. But you know, sadly, it was not something that was entirely surprising to me. I mean, there's a reason I left that relationship, but the truth is that Jason was not able to choose the time or the place that the papers were served. So Olivia claiming that he was trying to sabotage her moment was completely untrue." If you're loving this video so far, please hit that like button, it would really help us out. Number 9, Harry Styles' relationship. If there's one thing that the internet loves to do right now, it's tear down the romance between Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles. The couple met on the set of the movie Don't Worry Darling, which Olivia directed. He joined the cast in the fall of 2020, and by January 2021, the duo was spotted holding hands at a wedding, which naturally caused everyone to lose their mind. There has also been a lot of valid criticism directed at the couple, with some people questioning the timeline of their relationship, and they felt that Olivia moved on just too quickly after breaking up with her ex Jason Sudeikis. The former couple called off their 7-year engagement in November last year, and they share 2 kids together. But most of the hate is due to the fact that she's 10 years older than Harry, which gets brought up a lot when we see that an older woman is dating a younger man, but often it's not the other way around. They are also mad that she is in a position of power over him, as she directed the movie that he was starring in. So in a way, their whole relationship is a huge red flag. Number 8, queerphobia. Olivia Wilde has faced huge backlash after alleged homophobic comments she made in previous interviews resurfaced online. The 38-year-old actress has been slammed by the LGBTQ+ community for comparing changing roles in her career to that of someone who was making a life-changing decision about sexuality. In the interview, she was talking about what it was like going from being an actress to being a director, and she said it felt like coming out of the closet. She angered that same community again on another occasion, when she said that before she met Jason Sudeikis in 2011, she considered having a soft kind of lesbian relationship. Although it's totally fine to question your sexuality, people were mainly upset that Olivia claimed to have considered becoming gay just because she was lonely, which feeds into the stereotype that women only get into queer relationships because they don't seem to have any men in their life. Number 7, Shia LaBeouf comments. The actor was initially cast as Jack in Don't Worry Darling. However, pretty soon news broke in September of 2020 that Olivia had replaced him with Harry Styles. But the story that she began circulating was a little strange. She alleged that she fired Shia due to a no a-hole policy that she had while directing. She told Variety, "Shia's process was not conducive to the ethos that I demand in my productions. He has a process that in some ways seems to require a combative energy, and I don't personally believe that it is conducive to the best performances. Ultimately, my responsibility is to the production and to the cast to protect them." Just by her choice of words, Olivia made it sound as though he was a danger to the cast and crew, and that she had to fire him in order to protect everyone on set. This would have been easy for her to say, considering that Shia is being plagued by accusations of domestic violence at the moment, but in this instance, it was a blatant lie. Number 6, Kiki Layne. When it comes to the widely publicized drama surrounding Don't Worry Darling, there is new information being spilled every day. Kiki Layne and Ariel Stachel are now speaking out about how they were cut from most of the movie. They played the characters Margaret and Ted Watkins. Margaret serves as Alice's close friend and helps the protagonist in solving the mystery behind the Victory Project. The actress recently posted a video and 2 sweet images of the on-screen couple from the movie set on Instagram, but it was her caption that got everyone talking. She wrote, "The best thing about Don't Worry Darling is that I am lucky enough to meet Ariel Stachel. They cut us from most of the movie, but we're thriving in real life." When her Instagram post blew up, the outrage also grew, and one user commented, "Olivia Wilde cut a majority of the only POC characters out of her movie, marketed as a movie showcasing female pleasure, when it was only about women being literally entrapped without their consent. And you still want to defend her?" Number 5, leaked video. In response to Olivia's comments, Shia publicly exposed the truth behind his leaving of the project. And in the biggest revenge move ever, he emailed both Olivia and Variety magazine, saying, "You and I both know the reasons for my exit. I quit your film because your actors and I couldn't find the time to rehearse. Firing me never took place, Olivia. And while I fully understand the attractiveness of pushing that story because of the current social landscape, the social currency that brings, it is not the truth. So I am humbly asking, as the person with an eye toward making things right, that you correct the narrative as best as you can." Shia then leaked a video of Olivia practically begging him to stay in the film and making it seem like Florence Pugh was the only one who didn't want him there. In the clip, she tells Shia that she is not ready to give up on the possibility of him working in the film, saying, "The fact that you're leaving might be a bit of a wake-up call to Miss Flo." That video went viral and the result was utter chaos. Number 4, underpaying Florence. Early into the production of the movie, there were reports that Harry earned triple his co-star's salary, despite Florence being the film's leading lady. In early August, Showbiz Galore reported that she only took home $700,000 for her role as Alice, which sounds like a lot, but Harry was reported to be paid $3 million to play the supporting role of Jack, her husband, which if true would also be even more than the other notable co-stars in the film, like Chris Pine, who reportedly only made $600,000. But Olivia refuted the allegations and told Variety there is absolutely no validity to those claims. There has been a lot out there and I largely don't pay attention to it. She went on to call the pay disparity non-existent and said, "I'm a woman who has been in this business for over 20 years, and it's something that I have fought for myself and others, especially being a director. It's no secret that it's been an ongoing battle for men and women to have the same pay for film projects that they do together. So it's understandable that fans were fuming at the possibility that Florence was actually underpaid." Number 3, rude jokes. In March of 2011, after 8 years of marriage, Olivia filed for divorce from her first husband, Italian Prince Taurus Poli. While he was heartbroken after the split, it seemed like the actress was more focused on publicly humiliating her ex. In 2020, at an event hosted by Glamour magazine, she discussed trying to fake happiness with her ex-husband towards the end of her marriage. In fact, she aired out all their dirty laundry and even talked about how bad their sex life was. Quote, "I felt like my died, turned off, lights out. You can lie to your relatives at Christmas dinner and tell them everything on the home front is just peachy, but you cannot lie to your..." It really sounded like that was her attempt at a sex joke, but it wasn't great considering that it sounded like she just wanted to get up on stage and say that Tao was bad in bed. Even if she was joking, many people would agree that the whole thing was done in bad taste. Number 2, Richard Jewell. When the 2019 film came out, it was steeped in controversy, mostly because of Olivia's portrayal of real-life journalist Kathy Scruggs. The real Kathy, who died in 2001, was working at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution when she broke a story that the FBI was investigating the security guard Richard Jewell for the in Centennial Olympic Park during the 1996 Olympics. But the issue with the movie was that it depicted the iconic female journalist as having traded sex for information, which was particularly offensive considering the fact that there was no evidence that the real Kathy Scruggs ever did that, and even many of her past colleagues ended up coming forward and condemning the movie. In general, Olivia didn't seem to see a problem with it and actually made several statements defending the movie, but audiences found her character to be sexist, demeaning, and an outright insulting trope imposed on women. This led to a boycott of the film, as a lot of people in the journalism industry were up in arms over the portrayal. And coming in at number 1, the premiere. While Florence Pugh did not end up walking the red carpet, the internet could literally not get over how distant she was from Olivia the whole time. The 26-year-old was obviously giving her the cold shoulder, which comes as no surprise following all the rumors of tension between the two actresses. Not only that, but the weird vibes continued into the screening, where Florence and Olivia had to be seated 3 people apart. According to multiple eyewitnesses inside the screening, the actresses maintained their cold demeanors towards each other, and Florence even turned away from her when she started crying during the standing ovation. While yes, she did walk the festival's red carpet with the rest of the cast, she only posed for group shots, and the 2 women were not photographed together alone at all. And Florence didn't even pose for pictures with Harry either. So as much as Olivia loves to deny it, it's clear that there is still some deep resentment between them, and it would be very unlikely that they ever work together again in the future.
he hasn't dated any woman over the age of 25. Seriously. Even in his longer lasting relationships, as soon as his girlfriends reach his idea of an expiry date, they get the boot. While he has been linked to Naomi Campbell and Rihanna, who were older than the age limit at the time, they never officially dated. The women part of the ex-girlfriend club are not just your everyday beauties. All of Leo's ex-girlfriends are supermodel gorgeous. The ranks include Bar Raffaelli, Blake Lively, Kelly Rohrbach, Nina Agdal, and more recently, Camilla Morrone. At the tender age of 20 years old, Camilla began dating Leo, who was 43 years old. If you're keeping count with me, that's a whopping 23-year age difference. I'm sure a lot of people would find dating someone who could be your daughter kind of gross. All signs point to immaturity, which is an immediate red flag. Number 9. All of Leo's ex-girlfriends look the same. Young blonde beauties are clearly Leo's type, but when you put all the photos together, you can barely tell them apart. His most recent ex, Camila, probably looks the least like the prototype as a brunette, but when Leo first set his sights on her, she was, you guessed it, blonde. As the all-knowing minds of the internet suspect that the standard was set by Giselle, who he dated until she was the ripe old age of 23 years old. If you dig a little deeper into his dating history, it's clear that he was always into the blondes, even in the early 90s, but dating the same type of women and replacing them as soon as they reach an age limit seems really sketchy. Number 8. He takes all of these girlfriends to the same island for vacations. The evidence that Leo is a creature of habit in his relationships is overwhelming on this one. It might even be considered an orange flag if it was anyone else, but considering the strict dating standards he sets on his partners, why wouldn't he take them all to the exact same island for getaways? This island is incredibly private and Leo clearly loves it there. So much so he's actually recommended it to President Obama. The former president supposedly said, if Leo recommends a place, I listen. And if Leo has been able to come here on several different occasions with different girls and not a single photo has come out, that's where I need to go. Number 7, the shocking age that Leo met his most recent ex-girlfriend. Camila and Leo are no more, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that she just so happened to turn 25 earlier this summer. The pair were originally introduced to each other through another Hollywood A-lister, Al Pacino. Here's where it gets sketchy though. Leo met her when she was 10 years old and he was in his early 30s. Gross. Camila's Al Pacino's stepdaughter. While we don't know how well they knew each other at the time, hopefully it was just a meeting in passing, but it's shocking to think about. In July 2019, Camila posted photos of Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, another Hollywood couple with a very distinct age gap, and captioned it, "A love like this." By drawing comparisons to her 23-year age gap relationship and Humphrey and Lauren's 25-year age gap, it's clear to see that she didn't think anything was wrong with the relationship. Although she may have forgotten to factor in Leo's expiry date in her plans for a long-lasting romance. Number 6. Less than 2 weeks after breaking up with Camila, he was spotted with another woman. Leo was spotted at New York Fashion Week getting cozy with Gigi Hadid after breaking up with Camila, his girlfriend of the last 4 years. Clearly doesn't take him very long to recover from a breakup. Leo's back on the prowl with his sights set on the newest blonde for the lineup. Based on the factors we've seen so far, Gigi fits the bill. Blonde, supermodel certified gorgeous. However, there are a few things that may throw a wrench in his rebound plans. Nobody freak out. Gigi is 27. If Leo can get past that age qualifier, there's also the matter of the child she shares with her ex, Zayn Malik. Now, if I were Gigi, I would take all of these red flags at face value and head for the hills, unless she really wants to go to that private island. Number 5. Leo reportedly pays big money for the best PR firm available. Sunshine Sachs is one of the most exclusive PR agencies available, so much so that they frequently turn down A-list clients and they don't even have a website. You have to have the right connections to get in with them, and they offer some of the best services the industry has to offer. Considering all of his interesting dating habits, it's no wonder Leo's been with the company for years. Ken Sunshine, the CEO of Sunshine Sachs, has mentioned Leo by name in interviews and articles, proving his close ties with the company. Reportedly, Leo doesn't interact with anyone who hasn't signed an NDA. Maybe this is just an attempt to keep some of his limited privacy, being one of the most recognizable faces on earth, but this move raises a red flag. Number 4. Leo's self-titled foundation. The Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, or the LDF, is so attached to Leo's personal brand that it doesn't even have its own website. The LDF seems to be directed towards creating a better world for all of its inhabitants by targeting conservation of species, oceans, wildlands, and tackling climate change. All of this seems great, but in 2016, the foundation was target of a complaint from the US Department of Justice. It seems one of the donations made to the LDF directly linked to one of the largest embezzlement cases the planet has ever seen, $3 billion large. And if that's not enough to set off alarm bells, then there's the matter of the foundation being classified as a donor-advised fund, meaning that it doesn't have to file public disclosures of its revenue, expenditures, or disbursements. So we have no idea if any of the money they receive goes to any of the causes that the LDF claims to support. Their charitable galas are held in Saint-Tropez. They're reported to be filled with all kinds of debauchery at the low price of just under $12,000 a ticket. Number 3. Leonardo DiCaprio's environmentalism stops as soon as it's time to travel. Leo's holidays are always lavish. He owns an island off of the coast of Belize, and his vacations are frequently to new destinations. But I have to say, partying on a 350-foot mega yacht in St. Barnes that burns an estimated 300 gallons of diesel an hour likely does more damage to the environment than you or I will ever in our entire lifetime. In the same breath, Leo constantly calls out attention to the dangers of climate change and urges people at home to take it seriously. Clearly, he doesn't think it's serious enough for him to adjust his lifestyle. Number 2. Leo's close friends with a sketchy past. Leo's closest pals have been friends with him for almost 30 years. The likes of Tobey Maguire, Lucas Haas, and Kevin Connolly have all been spotted with him consistently. The gang of guys gained a moniker too salacious to be repeated here for being a randy group of guys only after one thing. They would go out on the town in search of women and a good time, not caring if anyone else was in the way. Beyond party boys in their natural habitat, there's a laundry list of illegal poker rings, lawsuits, and bad behavior attached to this group. All red flags here. And our number 1 red flag, Leo's been rubbing shoulders with political figures. Over the years, Leo's been invited to thousands of events and meetings with prominent figures. The ones that stick out the most as the most red flag behavior are his cozying up to political leaders and religious figures alike. Has been spotted visiting Pope Francis, and concerningly, he's met one-on-one with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Leo has stated that all of these visits were related to his foundation and on climate change, but his tactics of getting close to major world leaders to get his way are unsettling at best.
Number 10. Justin Bieber's roast. Ah, the comedy roast. The most wonderful tradition of the comedy world. A gathering of some of the funniest and most clever people on the scene coming together to make fun of each other on stage in a friendly and dark performance. In 2012, actor, comedian, scholar, and jerk James Franco participated in one of these roasts, inviting several top-tier comedians like Sarah Silverman, Aziz Ansari, and to host the show, he got his longtime buddy, Seth Rogen. One of the key members of the dais was Jonah Hill. Jonah was best known for comedic roles in movies like The Sitter and Superbad, but around 2011 he made a shift to the more serious side of filming, starring alongside Brad Pitt in the movie Moneyball. While he was sitting in his cozy little chair before his turn on the mic, everyone who came up to the stage had a joke to make about Jonah's behavior. He's been cold and rude, man, with his head jammed so far up his rear that he looks like an alien from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. When Jonah came to the stage to retort, he held his own, but his words were noticeably more scripted compared to his fellow performers who gave like a more off-the-cuff and authentic delivery. The truth has been there all along. Jonah said little to nothing to his fellow roasters following the event, apparently snubbing James himself. Everyone collaborated on a movie called This Is the End, and according to Seth Rogen, it was the last time that he ever saw Jonah Hill smiling and enjoying his time on set. It seems that his turn to the more serious side of things may have taken a toll on his ability to feel joy. Number 9. His choice of roles. Jonah's career is filled with everything from comedy blockbusters to serious dramatic pieces. He got his start working in comedy films, with one of his first performances being a brief cameo in the film 40-Year-Old Virgin before moving to a leading role in the classic cult comedy Superbad. It's one of my favorite movies, and Jonah is by far one of the best parts of it, on top of Bill Hader and Seth Rogen as cops. That's just legendary. While he started making people laughing in 2007, by the mid-2010s, Jonah had shifted his efforts to the more serious and macabre, with his roles in films like True Story and Wolf of Wall Street. He even earned an Oscar nomination for his supporting character in Moneyball with Brad Pitt. The red flag was the dramatic shift in tone from Hill as a performer. If you put his posters from the last 20 years side by side, you'll see that the older he gets, the less color there is on the page. Like, the more serious things are, the more black and white they need to be. He attempted to return to the comedy world in a recent Netflix movie called Don't Look Up, but thanks to the news of his possible tyranny arising, we doubt there will be a 23 Jump Street anytime soon. Number 8, his refusal to be interviewed. Have you ever noticed that when a Jonah Hill movie comes out, he's like never really been around to talk about it? Well, according to several celebrity news and interview sites, Jonah actually refuses to participate in most interviews simply because the ones that he has done in the past have just been extremely uncomfortable. When he was doing press for the movie Superbad, several of the interviewers were asking Jonah questions about his weight, calling him a large comedian over and over again. Now, he may be a large man, but that wasn't necessarily the selling point of Jonah Hill. The following few years, while still being involved in comedy films, Jonah was dodging questions left and right about his size, going up and down. Eventually, Jonah actually lost a ton of weight for his role alongside Channing Tatum in the comedy movie 21 Jump Street. The interviews for that film were the final straw for Jonah though, now being asked by people why he was so thin, literally fighting one of the most unwinnable battles of interviewer time. Since the early 2010s, Jonah has been sticking to the shadows and simply being in whatever movie comes out. While the line of questioning may have caused him to avoid the interview spotlight, this was around the same time he shifted to a serious role in Moneyball, seemingly proving his mind had snapped. Number 7, Jonah's ex. Recently, a news article broke that has brought to light some troubling information about Jonah Hill. According to his ex-girlfriend Sarah Bradley, Jonah was emotionally damaging towards her during their relationship. The couple first got together in 2021, meeting on a beach as she was a surf instructor. According to a series of texts between Sarah and Jonah, it's obvious that he is mentally manipulative. He tells Sarah to remove any photos of her surfing from Instagram that showed her bum bum in a thong, and when she did that, he told her it was a good start but that she didn't seem to get his point. He then told her, "It's not my place to teach you. I've made my boundaries clear. You refuse to let go of some of them, and you've made that clear, and I hope that makes you happy." In another screenshot, Jonah showed his plans and simple conditions for maintaining their relationship, including stating that he didn't want Sarah surfing with men. You know, like doing her job. He wrote a massive list of boundaries and rules that were clearly him trying to control everything that Sarah did. One point literally saying that she can't post pictures of herself in a bathing suit. What's she supposed to wear to the beach? A turtleneck? His manipulation is apparent and will surely shift Hollywood's opinion on the once great comedian. Number 6, The Wolf of Wall Street. Wolf of Wall Street is considered to be one of Martin Scorsese's best modern movies. The film is based on a book written by the titular wolf Jordan Belfort, chronicling his rise and demise to stock market fortune. In the film, Jonah plays Donnie Azoff, a man who actually quit his job to work for Jordan in the glory days. His character is a good time on screen, but Jonah's ability to play Donnie is just a little bit too good. Donnie's character spends the majority of the movie being a degenerate and getting his friends either arrested or injured over and over again. According to Martin Scorsese, Jonah would just walk on set and go in. No prep, no routine, he would just go. This should have been the biggest red flag of them all. If someone playing an evil wizard had just walked on set one day and started shooting lightning balls out of their hands, you'd be like, oh my god, that guy's a real wizard. When Jonah was able to easily switch between himself and the womanizing substance user he plays on screen, Martin should have called a psychiatrist to give this guy a good once-over. Number 5, his rapid change in weight. Many performers are able to shrink and grow seemingly at will. Look at Christian Bale. He has gained and lost weight over and over again for roles over the years, attributing the dramatic changes to a form of method acting, allowing him to literally embody his characters. Jonah is no stranger to this concept, as he was spotted over 100 pounds lighter in 21 Jump Street than he had previously been in the movie Moneyball. I guess when you're nominated for an Oscar, they give you some kind of a gym membership or something. We should look into that. While Jonah's rapid shrinking and growing isn't necessarily a red flag per se, we can't imagine that the rapid change is good for his body, and with the news of his possible toxic behavior, it appears that that change may have affected his mental health as well. In his most recent flick, You People, alongside comedy legend Eddie Murphy, Jonah appears to have returned to his larger build and returned to the realm of comedy. Now, I haven't personally seen the movie, but the reviews so far suggest that it may be one of those movies that you throw on in the background, you know, just kind of put it on while people are hanging out. Just not a good one. Number 4, his attitude on set set. Jonah may have started his career as a comedy king, but his attitude on set is anything but fun. According to many directors over the years, Jonah is a very gifted actor, able to come to set prepared for work every day with no hesitation. The only overall problem seems to be his communication skills. Jonah is known to be a very quiet and reclusive man on set, apparently spending a majority of his time in trailers away from the cast and crew. He's also known to be rather quiet while being given directions or while waiting for a scene to be reset. Like, imagine being a PA on set, you're standing next to the guy from Superbad and he's just on his phone playing Candy Crush all day. People always say it's the quiet ones that you have to worry about, and it seems that his quiet time may have been spent contemplating the meaning of life and his role in it. Or he spends it making a mental list of all the things that his partner needs to do to please him in a relationship. That might be it too. Number 3, he turned down The Hangover. Arguably one of the funniest trilogies in recent history has been The Hangover Saga, a series of films following 3 friends trying to piece together the wild night they had before. They lose their friends on roofs, they steal monkeys, and Ken Jeong is in it, so you cannot go wrong. What many people may not know is that the role of Alan, played by Zach Galifianakis, was actually offered to Jonah Hill over 3 times before they just finally gave up. While there was no specific reason why he didn't want to participate in this, a low-budget flick called Cyrus was released not long after The Hangover started production. It seemed that Jonah wanted to work in a more serious role instead of participating in one of the highest-grossing comedy trilogies of all time. While Cyrus was an interesting movie, it follows Jonah playing the titular son, living with his mother, played by Marissa Tomei, who befriends and begins to date John C. Reilly. It's a great movie, but it's nowhere near the caliber of the Hangover series, so we just wonder how hard Jonah was kicking himself after that one. Number 2, he canned 23 Jump Street. Alright, this is an entry that actually hurts to talk about, so I just need a second because it would have been really cool if they had made it, okay? In 2012, Jonah and Channing Tatum starred in a comedy reboot of the classic crime series 21 Jump Street for a more modern audience. The film received massive success at the box office and was quickly picked up for the sequel treatment. The sequel ended up being one of those few examples in Hollywood history of a second movie being better than the first, which is why it was so surprising to hear that the planned threequel 23 Jump Street was canned by Sony Studios. The main reason being, well, it was just too ambitious for Jonah. You see, the third entry in the franchise was going to be a massive crossover between 2 Sony properties. Jonah and Channing were set to cross paths with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith's characters from the Men in Black trilogy. The leaked script told the story of Jonah and Channing's characters investigating a new substance at a university, only to discover that the suppliers are extraterrestrials being hunted by the Men in Black. The idea of Jonah and Channing wearing that black suit and shades while holding comedically large it makes my soul sing with joy. A script was written, but ultimately the studio thought it just wouldn't make any money and end up being a massive misstep in the franchise. Apparently Jonah actually had something to do with this too. You see, while Channing was filled with excitement towards this project, Jonah felt that the entire thing was going to be one giant pain. His under-enthusiasm made the studio nervous to go forward with what would have been one of the best movies in the last 10 years. Instead, Sony decided to reboot the Men in Black franchise with Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, and it's just bad. It's just really bad. And at number 1, everything about him. I know it's a bit of a cop-out to say that the biggest red flag is everything that Jonah Hill has done, but am I wrong? As mentioned on this list, this guy has shifted his weight up and down, he's ignored his cast and crew while on set, he's flippy-floppy all over the genre map, and he's been mentally manipulative towards the women in his life. Jonah was a light in the early days. People remember him bringing joy to the set and always being in a good mood. But as the years went by, things got worse and worse, to the point that he now just does his job, grabs his check, and moves on to the next project. Now that he's been outed as being a mentally manipulative man in his personal life, we can only imagine the slew of backlash and cancellation that Jonah is surely about to face.